So it is a time of test, it is a time of challenge for Muslims. It's also a time of opportunity. It's a time of opportunity, and I think Muslims must engage and be involved. Any other questions? Yes, please. And could you introduce yourself so we know where you're from?
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmed. I'm here from Houston.
Your name is Ubaid?
Ubaid. The question I have for you...
And Ubaid, are you originally from Pakistan?
Pakistan.
See, I always know Pakistanis, Ubaid, I can recognize you.
There's only Ubaid's only from Pakistan. And India, of course.
Is that right, Shuman?
No, I know.
The question I have for you is, I appreciate the work that you're doing to promote dialogue. At the same time, there are strands of workers in this country that are doing the exact opposite and trying to promote misunderstanding and promote hatred, and we don't have to name those talking heads that do that. What is your advice when you're faced with that type of direct onslaught that goes against the very purpose of what you're trying to do?
Ubaid, I gave you the answer earlier. There was a program on C-SPAN, you can look it up. I was interviewed by the head of the C-SPAN, Alan Lamb. Look it up, it's a big program, 1 hour program on C-SPAN. Now, during the program, he showed me some video while we were talking about Islam, in which a scholar, not a Muslim scholar, a scholar who's very hostile to Islam, made a video about Islam. It was really very offensive to me as a Muslim. So he showed that and asked me to comment. So I made my comments. And since then, this scholar and his colleagues have been attacking me. That's fine, that's part of the game. If you're in the kitchen, it's hot around you. You can't just abandon the kitchen and say, I'm not going to cook the food, I'm leaving. As a Muslim scholar, I must engage. And I must not be discouraged. If people misunderstand me, or my faith, or my history, it's my duty to try to explain. I have great faith in the American people. I have traveled extensively, right across and up and down the United States, small campuses, think tanks, homes, Pentagon, State Department, White House. I'm traveling all the time. And I find that American audiences, sometimes I talk to entirely white American audiences, sometimes mixed audiences, they really want to know. Most of them have very little idea about Islam. Some of them have never met a Muslim. So I don't get discouraged, Ubaid. I only pray there were more who joined me. That's all. That's what my prayer is. One man can't do this. And this team of mine, there are 5 people on this team. 1 is a Muslim. 4 are Christians. They're good Americans, they're good Christians. And they want to really promote understanding. But I need to see more Muslims involved. After all, it's our problem. My question to you is, where are the Muslims? Forget the people who are criticizing us. Let them criticize us. They'll be there, they'll do their job. You do your job. Ahmed, do you want to make a comment about your center here and tell them the work you're doing?
Well, I'm working at Cambridge and I'm doing interfaith work there, but I'm also director of the Center for the Study of Muslim-Jewish Relations. And as you can imagine, for a Muslim woman, that's very hard because I'm crossing my cultural barriers and boundaries, but also sticking out my neck and wanting Muslims and Jews to talk to each other, especially in the recent situation with Gaza. It was very, very difficult. And although as a Muslim I could feel the pain, but it was so much more important to make friendships and so that people could understand each other and not fight each other. So it's really, interfaith is really very important, and it's important for Muslims to understand the other.
And we have to understand that after 9/11 the atmosphere was hostile to Muslims. I as a Muslim, I'm seeing my religion described in very strange ways. Senior and prominent American figures called Muslims idol worshippers. They called us Satan worshippers, idol worshippers. I come from South Asia. In South Asia, we are famous for being idol breakers. Our Hindu friends and colleagues abuse us and say, you are idol breakers, you have broken our idols, because those are representations of our gods. And here I'm being called an idol worshipper. So I said, which world are we living in now? The world I come from, I'm an idol breaker. In this world, I'm an idol worshipper. Don't these people have any idea? Then the holy prophet of Islam is being attacked. He's being called terrible names. I spend a lot of my time explaining the significance of the holy prophet to Muslims. This is what we have to do. Because if we fail to explain this, people will continue doing it. Any other questions?
I have a question on this informed consent. This informed consent seems to be very elaborate, but for me, I think some
Can you
thing is
make it a little
missing.
bit louder, please?
Is it a
Can
question?
you talk about the informed consent some more?
What is informed consent?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
What is it?
I'm asking you.
I don't know what
I'm
you
asking
refer
for
to.
clarification here. There is a sheet in the questionnaire that once is asking us to sign and explaining something about the study. And I wanted some more elaboration on the informed consent of why is it necessary or what's the
Because
purpose
we
behind
are being very correct and proper. If you're happy with it, sign it so that it becomes something that you're giving me voluntarily and happily. Not, we didn't take it from you by trickery or by not informing. That's all. So that you're comfortable with it. Any other question? Yes.
My name is Harun. I just want to ask your opinion, experience with the other Muslims in the United States. I think you are not getting critics just not from the Christians and Jews. Some other understandings of Islam that widespread in the United States, that they are not promoting dialogue, and maybe they are putting out of religion if you are in a community. What was your expression? What kind of question they were asking? How do you feel against their questions, especially Muslims?
Who
that
was
they didn't-
asking?
Is some, let's say, believers, Muslims,
Muslims?
that they are not thinking that dialogue is not,
Not yet.
yes.
Harun has asked a good question about Muslims, about how many promote dialogue and how many don't promote dialogue. Well, we found as we traveled throughout that 90% of Muslims are very keen to promote dialogue. 90% of Muslims of every nationality. And we went right up to Honolulu, where it was very interesting. We arrived there and the Honolulu weekly newspaper rang us up and said, what are you doing here, Professor? And I said, we are here to study the Muslims. And the journalist said, Muslims? Are there Muslims in Honolulu? So I said, I should be asking you, you're the journalist. In any case, he said, well, I'll be surprised if they're Muslims. And I said, there are 4,000 Muslims. And I've just said the prayers, it was Friday, I said, I've just said the Friday prayers in the main mosque in Honolulu. So, again, Muslims are widespread. We've talked to those people, very involved, supporting dialogue, interfaith dialogue, different kind of society in Hawaii. Very proud, by the way, that they've produced a president now, President Obama, with his association. But yes, Harun, there are some Muslims who are very uncomfortable with the idea of dialogue. They do feel that dialogue has a limited use and that dialogue will not change very much. Some are pessimistic. They say, God forbid, if there's some incident or some explosion, then dialogue will not help at all. So there is also that feeling. And we must respect all opinions. We are in the United States, it's a free country, a democracy, and it is a country that we must really salute in that sense, that all the different opinions, we need to hear everyone's opinion. And we can only try to point out the importance and urgency of dialogue itself. Yes?
You were asking correctly. Right, Ahmed, in many of the conversations about interfaith issues, I'm experiencing or I'm witnessing that the dimensions of the conflicts around the world, besides the religious dimension, are missed. So are we aware of any